45 past the hour, and beyond our borders in Afghanistan, a growing humanitarian crisis is emerging as more and more children are being brought to hospitals suffering from malnutrition. NBC's chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has more from Afghanistan.
A nurse at a clinic in Herat run by Doctors Without Borders measures Farzana's arm. If the band goes red, she's severely malnourished. Farzana is nearly at the end of the scale, weighing 6.5 pounds at 8 months old. Farzana's mother used to give her formula, but now can't afford it after her husband lost his job. A baby dies of starvation nearly every day at this clinic. Occupancy is up 70% compared to last year. Some are 2 to a bed. Ali Umar's mother was herself malnourished, so the baby was born too weak to suckle.
My husband is a house painter, but he sold his tools so we could feed the baby. Things have gotten worse since the Taliban came. What little we had went to zero.
The babies here are given a fortified blend of formula. About a third were already vulnerable, like Imran, who has a neurological disorder. The 3-year-old can't walk or talk. Now he's starving too. Jawad barely weighs 3 pounds. Many of the poorest in Herat live on the outskirts of the city. Here, the elders say work has disappeared since the Taliban took over and prices have gone up. Then Murad Khan, a day worker, made a shocking admission. Look, behind you. You see her? Come here, he says. I swear to God, is she old enough to marry? No, but I sold her. His daughter, Benazir, is 8 years old. She was sold to another family to marry one of their sons when she reaches puberty.
Do you know what we're talking about?
Benazir doesn't answer, but seems to want to disappear. The buyers haven't paid for Benazir yet. The agreed price, her dowry, is $2,000. As soon as they pay it, they'll come to collect her. Benazir's family survive by begging. They burn trash to bake bread because they can't afford wood. Benazir keeps the bread close to her heart whenever she's lucky enough to get a piece. Benazir's sister, Nazia, lies sick. Her father thinks from the plastic fumes.
Oh, she does have a fever. She's burning up.
Have you had anything to eat or drink? Nothing?
Benazir and her best friend Saliha go to fetch water. The local mosque is kind enough to let them fill their pails. Saliha has been sold too. She's 7. The 2 girls walk back home. Benazir in just torn socks, even as she crosses a rocky path. Saliha's father says he knows she's too young, but that he had a terrible choice to make. Take the dowry now or watch all the family starve.
I'm forced to do this. I'm keeping 5 alive. 1 has to be sacrificed.
Benazir and Saliha sit alone by their homes. The other girls, who like many here use henna to dye their hair red, keep a little distance. Perhaps wary, they too will soon become hunger brides.
Richard Engel reporting now. I'm with Atiya Abawi, an MSNBC International Affairs analyst. Atiya, thank you for being with me. I don't even know what to ask you. Like, I don't even know what... you see this and your heart breaks. This is a crisis of monumental proportions. What is going on in Afghanistan?
It's terrible. My heart's breaking. I'm holding back tears thinking about what these families are going through. It's a real Sophie's choice. It's a situation that, of course, the women and the children will end up suffering the most, as we saw in Richard's package. The World Food Program right now says 95% of Afghans don't have enough food. That's 95%. 23 million are on the brink of starvation. That's more than half the population. In fact, they say that this winter is going to be catastrophic, and the World Food Program said it's going to be hell on earth. We're not just reaching the winter months right now. We're on the line. There are going to be many districts and provinces that will be unreachable once the snow starts falling. And that means if they don't get the food, if they don't get the supplies that they need now, they will die. And unfortunately, that's we're about to see. The Taliban have proven that they know how to fight. We saw that in the last 20 years. They have not proven that they know how to govern. They weren't able to do it in the 90s. They're desperate right now, even sending a message to Congress, hoping that the Americans and the international community will unfreeze some funds to try to prevent some of what's going on. There are NGOs desperate to make a difference. But unfortunately, I do believe it's going to be that hell on earth that the World Food Program has mentioned. And Jose, I just want to thank you for shedding light on this story and airing it. I know there are many Americans right now who say, this isn't our problem anymore. You know, the war's over for America. It's not our problem. But it is our problem, not just because of our situation in the last 20 years with Afghanistan, but there are millions of Americans who made a commitment, who sacrificed so much in the last 20 years for an end result to be like this. It's not right.
I mean, there but for the grace of God go I. I mean, parents so desperate to keep their children alive that they're selling one of their children. I mean, it's almost like Soviet Union 1933. Talk to me about the responsibility of the Taliban, right? Because, you know, they came in now saying, we're the Taliban 2.0. What's the reality?
The reality is they want to be the Taliban 2.0, but they need to prove it. We're on day 62 where women, young girls in middle school and high school can't go to school in the majority of the country. Yes, some of them have opened, but are still closed. The Taliban are not proving that they are Taliban 2.0. They made a government that was a very hard-handed government. It was as they had promised. So it is being stuck between a rock and a hard place, especially for the American government, the international community, who want the Taliban to become that Taliban 2.0 that they promised. But there's a moral and ethical responsibility on both sides. And unfortunately, both sides aren't reaching that responsibility that they need to.
I mean, you know what Richard Engel said, one child dies of malnutrition in the hospital he's at every single day. Atiya Abawi, thank you for being with me this morning.